Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Aaron Porter and I am going to show you how we can turn HO scale vehicles that are junk into a reality of really cool. I am part of the Mount Hood Model Railroad Club of Southeast Portland, Oregon at 55th and Southeast Belmont. We are an HO scale club and I do a lot of the vehicles. And I'm going to show you some of the ones that are personally mine. I have done a few for the club in this style. So I'm going to show you what you can do with an old Tyco cheapo cab over KenWorth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you cab over KenWorth of what it'll look like when you buy it brand new. And so here we go, and I hope everything comes out fine. Sound wise and volume. If not, I appreciate your patience and I hope you enjoy this video that I am doing. And so here goes. As you can see here in the video that I'm going to show you, we have a cheapo cab over KenWorth. Now you think about them, there ain't much there to look at, as you can see here. You know, it's just basically nothing inside. Cheap Tyco. 70s, I believe, is when these came out. Had a little poker that stuck up, little tiny tanks. I do save these tanks, by the way. I cut them off the frame. And the cabs are very easily removable. And then I just cut right at the edge of the grill and the bumper up front here. And I'm going to demonstrate real quick that these cabs can come off very easily. They tip forward, as you can see, and then you can just pull them off very gently and you've got yourself a nice cab. Now what I do with these is, if you remember the old KenWorth's that were the Atherns, well, finding frames for them may be a little impossible, but there's a solution. There's a company called Railroad Hobbies out of Caldwell, Idaho. They make them. It says Freightliner, but you can use them for the KenWorth's as well. They come in a variety of sizes. They come in a 3-axle or a 2-axle, depending on what you want. This one here is made for a cab over that's got a sleeper, or you can use this for a conventional. Like I said, this is the old Atherns. They're still making them brand new for the cab overs. You can put I take one of these here. I'm going to set my camera down and show you here real quickly. You can take this cab off. Not that hard and difficult. Just snaps off like so. And like I said, if you cut along the ridge here, right, flush with the frame along this, you can get that off. No problem. Use some glue. If you want, you can cut the motor out too. And then what you would do is you would place the grill with the bumper in here with it. I use super glue, just a tiny dab, and make sure it's a strong hold. I do, however, I cut, if you can see, there's little plastic in here. I cut this flush. Make sure you leave the front one on, but I cut the back off. And make sure it's flush and flat with the cab inside. Then what I do for interior is I take an old cab like this. This is a white cab. It tilts forward. It's made by a company called Concord. And I use the interior cab on these things. You may have to sand the sides of the cab interior just a hair to get them to fit in a KenWorth. But they do work. And they work wonders. Now, if you want to make this into a sleeper for this KenWorth, they have sleeper models in these that'll fit. Now, they will be a hair bit short in the back. They'll probably come right up to this little line here. I don't know how well you guys can see that when you put the cab in. If you're not real particular, it'll sit on a cab frame like this, no problem, as you can kind of see where I'm going with this, and kind of give you an idea. Now, this Railroad Hobbies, like I said, they make a 2-axle. Now, this particular 2-axle is a little kind of but this one here is a little longer, a little more realistic. It's a 2-axle. You can use this as a day cab for conventionals, or a cab over for sleeper models. What I do here on this is I may use this particular cab for this, and I cut these little knobs off, and I go and get the Herpo makes a model that has the 4 prongs that fit in when you take a Herpo model's tractor trailer and you pop out the fifth wheel. There's 4 prongs in it for holes. Well, I cut the prongs off and super glue those to the frame. They look a little more realistic for my standard taste, and I like the look of them better. But I can use this cab on here. Like I said, I'll cut this off the front here, and I'll put it on here and then use the interior. Now, if you're wondering what a cab over Kenworth of these old cheap Tycos would look like, well, I'm going to show you quite a few that I've done. This first one here is a day cab, and this is what it looks like. It has 50-gallon tanks on each side, and remember the Herpa fifth wheel L, that's what I use. It's got the little latch thing right there. I've put ginormous stacks on it, as the truckers would call 8-inch diameters. I am missing an antenna, I'm sorry about that. But this was already painted, and you can put window on it. You know, I use, you buy a Q-tip box, the clear part of the Q-tips thing works well as wonders for windows. I put these mirrors on there, and these are actually for Herpas on the cab overs, or the Ather KenWorth's as well. But Herpa uses these on their mirrors for their KenWorth's, and you can order the mirror sets separately out of the Walthers catalog. And then I've put a gearbox over here, and I custom make mud flaps. Like I said, this is a day cab, and I took a beverage soda trailer and just left the ribs on the sides of it, and put a fence type thing over it so it hauls a cattle car trailer and has cattle in it. As you can see, I turned this into a day cab. I painted it as close as I can get to the original color, which is close to it. The third one is a sleeper model. This one here has ladders that I made for the sides. I put an air tank there. These are simulated 75ers. I put one stack that would be an 8-inch, and like I said, antennas on the mirrors, and then I put I used the original grill and bumper, and then I added another piece to give it a little look, and I put rubber wheels on it with everything you got here. And I don't know if you can see up in there, but there is a sleeper with a interior inside, and like I mentioned earlier, it does come to about right here on the head grab irons interior wise. And I said once again, the plastic for the Q-tips works well as windows, so that is one of them. Another one I've done. This one here, I went with a big boy. This is a 3-axle cab over, and I've used another cab sleeper to make an extended. So you've got a ginormous sleeper, and I put ladder here. I know it's not the correct ladder, but it's my version. And I put plastic again. I've painted the handrails, got the mirrors, I've got the 8-inch diameter stacks up here, and then I've got simulated 200-gallon tanks, and then that little chrome thing is supposed to be an air tank, and then I've got the little 40-gallon here that came off of a yard hopper. This is what I use. So simulated, it's got 240 gallons of fuel. And then this one here is my latest creation. Yeah, you can say Mexican theme with their green, yellow, and red. This is an auto hauler. I plan to put a hot rod in this instead of this classical T-bird. This is a hot rod hauler. I've got these little chrome things right there. Those are air tanks, one on each side. I stuck the smokestacks under here. for the like mufflers, and then 100-gallon tanks on each side. This was a 3-axle Freightliner frame, and I just cut off the back frame, and then I used a ramp from another model of a car. Sorry about that. That I had. It was an auto hauler, and I cut this off, put it on the back, and then I kind of touched that up as best I can, and then I painted this red. This body was actually from a Viking Peterbilt 187 scale tow truck that just had a little pole with a hook on it. You might have seen that. Like, once again, I said you can paint the tops. You know, I did the red with the yellow, painted the horns, and I painted the silver on the visor, and then I did the grill, and then I've got this, and I used plastic tires on this one. These are out of a Herpa model style. So this is kind of an idea of some of the things that you can do with these old cheapos right here, these little cheap KenWorths. So if you've got any of these lying around, don't throw them away. You can actually make some good use out of them. And as I mentioned earlier in the segment, I was talking about this company here, Railroad Hobbies. They're outside of Caldwell. Let me pull it back a little bit. And I get these from a gentleman out in Beaverton, and he's got a whole bunch of them. They don't just make frames. They also sell the tanks, and they also sell the little smokestacks that go with them, that came with the old Athearn Freightliners and KenWorth's. And they come 3 to a package for these little stacks, and they're not too expensive, actually. They're pretty cheap, and so I pick a lot of them up. I find a lot of these in swap meets, or go to your local hobby shop and ask if they got a junk department. You can get these for about 50 cents with frame and everything. Remember, these were the tires that went on there, so you know, if you got the old poker, you know, on this, and it's the old trailer that just slides in, you know, like, you know, male, female, then you can actually want to turn these into something cool. Well, I just showed you an array of variety. Another model that I just recently picked up, I've done a couple of, is the old Boley model. And that's Boyley, or excuse me, Boley, Boley. And if you remember some of them, they had the old Ford cab overs from the 80s. And these are where the frames look like. Well, what I did is I took one of these type of Fords. Here, I'll give you a kind of a view of what it looks like. And so, if you could see that, yeah, they were kind of nothing. What I did is I put 8-inch simulated diameter stacks on it, mud flaps, and then I customed my own tanks. These are 200-gallon, 250-gallon tanks, and I put this on a 3-axle Athearn frame for Freightliners, and believe it or not, this rig, we have a Matchbox KenWorth from the 80s with the pointed high-up sleeper. This actually sits higher than the cab over KenWorth Matchbox. Ford, on this particular model, had become the biggest cab over maker and the tallest cab overs of the 80s. I would love to see cab over come back, and something new besides a piece of junk Freightliner. No offense to anybody that owns a Freightliner, but I'm Ford, KenWorth, Peterbilt, Mack, an international kind of guy. So no offense, I said, to anybody who owns a Freightliner. We use a lot of Freightliners at the club. That's the era we were in, 40s through the 1960s. That's what you saw a lot of. And so I think it turned out well. They do have little tiny chromish air horns. This was factory that came with the model. I used the factory mirrors. I put a little visor on there and tried to paint it as best as I could to the red. Like I said, it turned out really well. And so if you have any of these old Boley models laying around, or any of these old, you know, KenWorths, Don't throw them away. You can actually do some wonders with these. Now, in another segment, I will take this one and a step-by-step show you guys how to make this into something phenomenal that'll turn from a pile of this with the poker piece of junk, not worth much, to something that's got this on there and may look like this, or it may look like something like this. So stick around for that. You may won't be this, but just to kind of give you an idea, you know, once again, don't throw these away. These are very nice. The guys at the club like them. They say I do wonderful work. I do detail some of the handrails. As if you could see here, I use a toothpick and I just dip it in the very tip of the toothpick and just lightly slide it down. And I try not to, I even did a door handle too, on both sides. That's how I did the lights up here in the horn, and I did the visor. But yeah, they turn out really nice. Once you're all done, like I said, the white Herpa, if you've got a white Herpa lying around, or you don't have one but you've got the cab interior for it, these work perfectly inside these quite well. So go ahead and use these for the interior. If you've got a sleeper model, they will fit in the sleeper model. If you've got a day cab like I did here on this one, they will fit as well. They're a hair bit short, you know, from the back to where the back of the chairs are, but that's fine. Unless you've got a ninny who's a real stickler, who cares? There's little kits out there that also make little windshield wipers. I don't know if you can see right up here. I've got a little windshield wiper. I'm missing one. You can really detail these rigs quite well. So, you know, just because you see this in a junk department for $1, don't hesitate to pass it up. Just grab it and you can turn these things into really something cool. These as well. These came in a cardboard box, plastic trailers with kind of El Cheapo frames for the trailers. They work wonders. I've done many of these KenWorth's here, and I've done a couple of these. I've actually had a couple of day cabs of these that I turned into. One's a flatbed, real short flatbed with a short flatbed trailer, all PVC pipe. The other one, frame got destroyed by accident, so it went to semi-heaven for those truckers out there. But yeah, like I said, if you want to make any of these vehicles look really nice, there's a way you can do it. And I will be, in the next segment, I will show how to make this one. I think on this next one, I'm going to put the factory stock smokestacks, which I believe were 4.5, 5-inch diameter stacks back in the 70s. I'm going to see if I can find a top for this to make it high up like it's 1977. I may not. So stick around. I will be demonstrating more of that. And you guys have a wonderful day and enjoy building all your vehicles that you do. And it can be really fun and it can be really time consuming, but it's a challenge. And use your own creation. You know, I don't think anybody's ever, I don't think, in my opinion, I've ever seen a KenWorth that has a hauler on the back for a hot rod. I don't have the hot rod yet, but it's my creation. That's what I do for the club. And like I said, once again, the frames are from this company here, Railroad Hobbies, out of Caldwell, Idaho. They're Athearn parts, as you can see. These are the stacks. You get frames, like I said. You get a 3-axle frame for your cab overs or your conventionals, and you also get the 2-axle for the day cab or a sleeper model. So on the cab overs. So you enjoy with these what you want and how you want. You can come up with some pretty good, interesting creations. Like I said, these you just cut right flush with this, and then if you want to save the motor, you can put it in there. Go ahead. Save these fuel tanks. They're a vital asset. They look, you know, like Scale 40-gallon, 45-gallon tanks. Just because, you know, they're attached to a frame like this doesn't mean they're valuable. These can be good. I used one of these as an air tank on a Ford L&T 9000 for like a, you know, roadway. They have that little they have their tanks for fuel, and then they got that one that sits behind it. It's kind of a grayish tank. I believe that's an air tank. I use them for that, or I use them for you know, something else. But save these tanks as well. Once you cut this off and you cut these tanks, you can trash this frame and get rid of it. It ain't worth much, in my opinion. But yeah, so cab over KenWorth, Tyco. Make sure it says Tyco, and you'll know instantly. I've seen these in a collector's market, like a little antique shop. Guys want $12 for these. They're not worth 12 bucks. They're worth about 50 cents to $1. But when I'm finished with them, they're worth about $12. So if you do find some, I would not pay more than maximum of, say, $2 at the most. So if you see somebody that's got these and he's offering 10, 12 bucks, oh, they're collectible. You can also, and I will show you in just a second, Dodge made some too. This, ladies and gentlemen, is a Dodge A700 tilt cab, which, believe it or not, is by Tyco. Now what I did is I took an Athearn Ford C cab stake bed. All I did was I took the cab off from the Athearn Ford C cab, and where the bumper sits, flush with the two little round knobs, flush right there, trimmed under here just a little bit on this cab, and this fit right on there. And as you can see, it is an Athearn Ford C cab. I put a gearbox on here, and I put a smokestack as this muffler, and then I put on here a 75-gallon tank. And so, and then once again, I used the mirrors for the Athearn, excuse me, not Athearn, but the Herpa KenWorth's. And then I put a horn up here. This is also another good model. Yes, it looks like it's got bug eyes on the lights. But yeah, the window is actually for the cab. It's a blue color. That's what it came with. And I just painted the inside of the interior. This part does come off. And then I painted the inside black, and then I glued it back on so it doesn't come off. I left these chrome. I thought it would give it a nice accent. So yeah, Tyco makes crappy looking cars, but you can turn them into something good on the semis. So I will be showing you more later of how-tos with these Tycos. And so enjoy. Happy truck building and happy model railroading. And I will bid you guys a good night. And so I will be turning the camera around, and so I will show you guys in the future more trucks coming from me. And you gentlemen and ladies have a wonderful evening. Thank you.